Hey, good morning, everyone. Hope we're all doing well. It is Tuesday, November 12th. Yesterday was a bank holiday. Bond markets were closed, and we had a decent move. Like, it was okay movement in the market, just very low volume. Like, the movement was kind of like mid tier, let's say. But what we did see was a continuation of the upside in some of these big names like Tesla. Tesla has been in the news a lot, especially for this like massive sweep to the upside. We saw that Bitcoin was a huge leader in terms of news events yesterday and even into the weekend. But a lot of eyes are on Tesla and some of the big bets that have been being made around Tesla. So Tesla, there was a monster bet that was made here on Wall Street Bets where someone turned about 88,000 into like $1.12 million in the last few weeks here, just based on Tesla using some call options. So that was a massive bet and a huge return by someone on Wall Street Bets. But it doesn't stop there, right? There is flow that's coming out on Tesla that is like looking at 600 plus calls for the coming few like months, like next year at some point. So this is a massive bet that's being placed here on Tesla to get towards that 600 target within the next year, realistically, and even sooner than that. So there are some huge bets that are being placed on Tesla, which is attributing to a lot of this massive upside momentum move. But it seems like people are still getting a little late on this trend with this massive expansion that's shaping up. If anything, I'd be waiting for a pullback to see if we hold around that 310 area where we have this volume profile edge that we've most recently escaped from here on Tesla, to see if we can get some kind of upside continuation. We've moved into a volume profile edge around like 325 area. So 325, 310, those are two blocks that I think that Tesla can hold out if this momentum does want to continue to the upside as it started, right? A lot of the money that's flowing back into tech is allowing for this market to sustain some of this upside, where everyone's like, oh my god, like it's too overbought, I can't buy these highs. Well, yeah, okay, fair, but thinking that we're going to get this massive Armageddon crash is a little outrageous as well. So I think that markets are due for some kind of pullback. It seems like the U.S. equity market, the futures in terms of the S&P and the Nasdaq, aren't necessarily holding to the downside super well, but they have started to move into auctions to the downside. So I think we do get some kind of a pullback this week. I think it might be a little tech inspired based on how aggressively tech has gone up and the potential for it to pull back before we see better buy side. And then I think that rally gets snap bid really quickly, where it's not too much of a rally. It's not going to be too deep of a, or sorry, it's not going to be too deep of a pullback before those buyers start waking up and trying to pin this again to the upside. Even on the overnight session, yesterday's session, we saw a pretty strong bid that came out of both of these equities on the Nasdaq and the S&P 500 to close out the days and even close out this overnight session. So I am leading a bit more to the sell side so we can explore some new buying into lower prices, and then I'm going to be looking to flip. So we'll take a look at the auction charts and the balances on the S&P to help us identify where those areas are. But right now, what we're seeing is these massive monster bets in Tesla, really towards the tail end of this vertical upside momentum move. Now, I'm not saying that there can't be more, but I think we're at that point where we're getting very exhausted. It's gapping down here pre-market, and it would want to find better buyers at lower prices before it can continue whatever kind of momentum it has started over here. So it's a very strong burst here in Tesla, right? Really catching up in comparison to a lot of the tech names that we've seen holding out better rallies over the last few months, right? Amazon has just recently made new all-time highs, so this turned from laggard into an appropriate pop. Apple was at all-time highs like not too long ago. It's kind of pulling back right now. Nvidia is holding fairly well towards its all-time highs. Remember, we've got earnings next week on this thing. And then we have Meta that's been holding all-time highs for a while now, with Google that's been a huge laggard. So there have been tech names like Google, Amazon, even Microsoft, and Tesla was one of them that are laggards in the current environment for big tech. And like that, right, they're getting a lot of love. They're catching up really aggressively. So these massive momentum moves aren't necessarily expected to last for an extremely long time, but this catch up in big tech is what's holding up this market from pulling back. But I think those pullbacks still do get bought back up. Now, Let's talk about the UN and going green, right? Climate talks. Depending on how you look at it, you might think that there is some kind of correlation with Tesla there. But the latest round of UN climate talks, known as the COP, the COP29, is getting underway this week in Azerbaijan. Ironically, the country is one of the top 10 fossil fuel dependent economies in the world, with oil and gas making 90% of its export revenue and 60% of its finances. So even more ironically, the largest share of Azerbaijani fossil fuel exports go to the European Union via pipeline that run to Greece, Albania, Italy, the southern gas corridor, while those levels have been increasing in recent years due to the war between Russia and Ukraine. So we're on the road to ruin, right? This is a quote from COP President Mukhtar Babayev, said in his opening remarks, "These are not future problems. Climate change is already here. The top priority is to agree to fair and ambitious new collective quantified goals on climate finance in line with those objectives." Progress was made on Article 6 in the 2015 Paris Agreement. Delegates also approved new standards for a global carbon market that would allow richer countries to buy the emissions of poorer countries by investing in their clean energy projects or carbon capturing forests. So, however, despite commitments made in the past, greenhouse gas emissions have continued to reach record highs, while increasing temperatures, a loss of biodiversity, and extreme weather events are said to have grown in very intensely. So, not helping the situation are questions of fairness and trust, as well as accountability and enforcement mechanisms. And notable world leaders were also absent from the summit, including President Biden and Xi Jinping, along with the heads of India, Brazil, France, and Germany, and the European Union. So it's a very, very big deal. During his last term in office, Donald Trump withdrew the U.S. from the Paris Agreement, and President-elect is likely to do so again. Increasingly, oil and gas stocks have performed much better under under Biden than Trump, and green energy has performed better under Trump than Biden. So that's a very interesting factor over there. But I still do think that the oil market has decent potential to the upside swing. I know that it has been lagging a lot, right? It's been lagging a lot here, and there is a lot of downside pressure. Every rally gets sold into very aggressively, but I think that over the next coming months, I've been talking about this for a while, right? There is still potential for that upside swing. I do like it. I am bullish on it. Talking about equities, let's jump right into these equities over here. The S&P 500, right? We've created an intermediate balance into these highs, right? We created this intermediate balance into these highs. We have the auction top over here somewhere into this, I guess like 60-40. We have a very important area at 60-30 all the way down into about these 60-10s. So these 60-10s so far are holding the last two sessions here, but we've accepted into the major balance from the upside to the downside. So if we combine some of these profiles, right, it becomes a little more clear as to what's going on here. So we have, wait, let me remove one of these. Let me just remove, oh crap, I've undone it. I meant to merge the ones from last week. So we won't include yesterday, because it's a new week after all. So if we take a look at what's going on from last week, gotta merge a few more profiles here, it seems. So if we take a look at what's happening from last week, right, I didn't include this week's, like Mondays, yesterdays to start. I included Sundays, sure. But we have this massive distribution area over here, this like big balance that's shaping up around the 610. We have a minor area at the 630 right now. So we are trying to slink lower, but I don't think that the real sell side, especially on the S&P, begins unless we start breaking under that 60-10 area. That 60-10 and lower should open up some of that downside momentum to get us going into this like larger balance and create maybe a larger balance into these all-time highs. So I am looking a little more to the downside. I think that these sellers can open up some of this pressure to push us over into an area where better buy side is waiting, which are at lower prices. So I gotta go with that today, right? As long as this like 60-30 area holds, and on the NASDAQ under 250, I think that pressure is to the downside, but we do have to start accepting into regions lower, meaning 6010 has to break, meaning on NASDAQ 21,110 has to break, and so on. So I'll leave you guys with that. Let's open up our live trading room this morning, and we'll see what is shaping up throughout the day. But tomorrow, I believe, is CPI pre-market, so everyone's going to be excited and waiting for that and seeing how that kind of shapes up. So I'll see you guys then, and we'll chat soon. So let's open up our live trading room. I hope everyone has a fantastic trading day, and we'll do it again tomorrow with that CPI news fresh.